playing some MKX. We're not playing, we're going to talk about it. And I want to talk about a couple of things in particular, right? So, the first things I want to talk about, I'm going to need two characters. I'm going to need Takeda, and then I'm also going to need Scorpion. Right? So, the reason I started off with Lasher is because there needs to be a stop to this type of thing in particular. This needs to stop happening. You see a move that looks like it's a low, and the opponent registers this hit as a low attack, but it reads as a mid. That's gotta stop. It looks like a low. Let this move hit low. Now understand the profit of having a move that hits this far out, right? That allows you to combo. Right? I understand why they would make it a mid, because a low that hit from that far, that's a little absurd. That gives you a whole combo. But it's a low. Look how far away this low is from. And the place you're going to be using this low is out here. You can see this low from here because of how far away it is. And you can react, duck, and block that. So that right there first has got to stop. But even before that, the thing that has to stop first and foremost and most importantly, this. In the next Mortal Kombat game, I know that there have been rumors going around about a Mortal Kombat 11 that's supposed to come out. Stance switch has to go. Because then you get things like this, where you can cancel the early frames of your jump by holding up when you jump and pressing L1 or whatever your stance switch button is. So if you press up and 3+4 at the same time, right? If you press up and hit 3+4 at the same time, what it does is that let's say you're playing against Jason, and Jason is going for a throw mix-up on you, right? So if he's staggering back threes on you, and then you feel like he's gonna go for the back three, 1+3 to get the grab, you can press up and the stance switch button at the same time, and you'll do a micro jump with the stance switch, because the stance switch is canceling those jump frames, and then on that whiff you get a punish, right? And that's no bueno. So stance switch has got to go, not only because of this, right? But because certain things like this, right? Certain moves, you see the characters backing up. We do not need a button that allows us to turn our characters back to the camera, because a lot of what we're going to be looking at is coming from the front. You see that? Now from this side, if he did that, we don't get to see his hand go down and eject the whip for him to do that. You see how it was hidden there? and it kind of blends in with his side. That's no good. For some moves, right? What was I saying? For some moves, if we're in this stance, you don't get to see much of what's happening. Right? Like for this move, we know he goes forward, but we don't know, unless we look at it, slowed down, what hand he's hitting him with. Alright, I'm just fooling there. But you get what I'm saying. Versus here, we can see the punch. We can see the punches here. Right? It looks good. See that? This has got to go. Right? Because outside of this, it not only serves no utility, but it adds this kind of feature where you turn your back to the camera. And if most of the action is happening with the front of your body, why, if you're not hitting them with your back, why would your back be towards the camera? Why would your back be out here instead of back where it's supposed to be? Dog, please. Dog, please. Thank you. Thank you, sweetie. You're a good dog. What's next? But the reason I picked these two characters is for this reason right here. Let me just get the thing ready. Let me get that fast load time. Hell yeah. So, I feel like this variation of Takeda could have been part of Scorpion's regular kit. His regular moveset. This could have been the new spear, right? And you spend meter on it to get your stagger, to get your stun state. But regularly, it gives you your knockdown. And the man has two spears, right? Let's not pretend that he doesn't have two of them. Two harpoons, kunai, whatever you want to call them. He's got two of them. So let's not pretend like these types of things are impossible for him. Oh, dog, please. But I feel like this could have been this character. No. You stop that. Come on. Be a good girl. There we go. Thank you. Yeah. This character could have been part of Scorpion's this character's tools when it comes to these types of moves here, these whips. These could have been Scorpion's moves. Right? Instead of having a Scorpion classically just throw his spear, throw his harpoon or whatever, his kunai, his chain, whatever you call it, instead of this, right? He could have had something like this be the normal spear, and then you spend your bar and you get your spear, your classic spear like this. Right? Now, I don't think that that was a bad idea. In fact, I think that was pretty cool. have no type of spear option from the air. I feel like that would have been really good for this character. Finally have a new way to reinvent his spear, his harpoon, whatever you call it. You have a new way to do that. That would have been really nice. Oh, dog. What else? Yeah. This whole thing, that could have been Scorpion. Instead of having to make a new character and then push on to everybody that, oh, this is one of the new characters, he's just good.
Challenge would be nice.
You know, we're going to imply that he's done all this training. Thank God for the comics. I really do appreciate the comics. Because the comics make it a little bit easier to take in. But in some cases, like with Cassie or with Jackie, it's like, here are these new characters. They're the son or daughter of this character or the descendant of this character, and they do this, right? Or they were the pupil of this character and they do this, right? That's cool and everything, right? But next time let's not do that. Now, I won't lie, out of the 4 new Earth characters that were introduced, this has to be the coolest one. But it's not all what I want to talk about. The other thing that's important, we have to stop being okay with some of the animation of these moves. Let me give you a good example.
Aaron Black.
So this, again, one of the newer characters, one of my favorites. And where are you?
Katana.
Alright, here we go. I had a viewer in here for a second, but whatever. 3 control this character. That's no good. This has got to go. You see that? Who are we hitting with that? We're not hitting anyone with that. That move is not good for anything. That move doesn't look good. It's got weird range. It hits at a weird angle. Like, that's cool. That's alright. That's cool because she's got her fan. Right? And it goes back to standing pretty nicely. It goes back to crouching nicely. But this, no, that's gotta go. That's gotta go. This, no more moves like this in the next MK. This has gotta go. That's not acceptable. Right? We have to stop letting things like this be okay. Alright? That's not acceptable. That's no good. So now we're moving on to this. So, we want, when you have a character with a gun, I can't lie, I've been doing some learning on YouTube about animation and all that stuff. I'm no professional, but I have been watching a couple videos. And a guy made a really good point about this character, Aaron Black in particular. So when looking at him, look at his hands over his guns. Right? And I think the problem with his guns, with his hand really, I get it, he's supposed to be a quick draw specialist. But I think the problem isn't with his guns being too small or his hands being too big. The problem is that his guns look too much like actual guns. Here's the problem. With that pose right there, we get it. He pulls the gun out. He's got to have cock so he can, push down on the hammer and fire the gun. I get that. That's cool. But to get to this pose, he doesn't stay there very long. Right? Once you get to this pose, he doesn't stay there very long. And I get that it's because it's supposed to because it's part of the recovery, right? But he can't stay there very long. That's not good. He's got to have a big pose with his gun. Like this, that's cool. Nice big pose with the gun. This, big pose with the gun. What else? This, big pose with the gun. And you can see that when he shoots, he takes the recoil from that. With this, you can see that with him walking back, you can't see the recoil, right? But you get the effect that the shots have some weight behind them. With this, you get an effect that it feels like, oh man, these shots have some weight behind them. And there's a big pose in there. You see him walking back and he's got the gun out. He aims low, he aims in the middle, and he aims up high. You can see that. Even with the regular one, you can see that. He pulls the gun out, he keeps it nice and center, he walks back and he fires it. It looks like he's playing a guitar, but he's still shooting. You can see that big pose there. Versus, the big pose gets hidden in that flourish. Now with that flourish, you can see that the guns, you can't really see them. They're almost invisible to that background right there. On a stage like Outworld Market where the background is nice and yellow, sorry pal, you're not seeing those. So the idea is not to make the guns look so big that they are not realistic, or that they don't seem functional because of their size. The idea is to make the guns look big enough so that you can focus on them and see them. No. Oh, doggo. Yeah, the idea, we have to make those revolvers in his hands not so small. Alright? And then this, I get it. Look, he's supposed to be some kind of bounty hunter. But just, it looks like, okay, so the video I watched, you pointed out, the transfer of weight, which, hey, if you do any fighting, watch any fighting, you know that transfer of weight is pretty important, right? It's the difference between your left hook, it's the difference between your left hook maybe turning the guy's head or turning that guy's head to the canvas. That's the bump in the mic, sorry. That's the difference that comes with transfer of weight. It's going to be either we're going to turn this guy's head or we're going to turn this guy's head to the canvas. Right? This, the first punch, alright. It's a nice big hook. He steps in all the way. Boom. But then, the second two, it's like he steps forward for the second one, but then he kind of stays on the same foot. And then for the next two after that, he kind of stays on that same foot and lurches forward a little bit to throw the last one. Like, you can see that it's not like he's moving his weight around to throw these punches. It's kind of like he's leaning forward and throwing punches after the first one. And then another thing, So,
Smell the gun.
if normally you're not going to take your recoil, like here, if you are not going to take your recoil, even when firing a rifle, or when you fire your gun, if you're not going to take your recoil, normally, then why exaggerate it in this fashion?
The gun is the best defense.
Right? I get it. It looks cool. I fucking love that shit. If I can not mess it up, do it easily. That shit is cool, right? But why does the recoil for that? I understand that you want to make it
The gun is the best
look a little bit more. You want to make it look over the top. I get that. But if he doesn't treat the recoil to other gunshots the same way, right, then why have that situation seem like he has more recoil than the other situations? Prime example, standoff stance 3. So you can see here that when he's shooting, his hand doesn't go back very far, right? To account for the recoil. Only on the last shot does it look like he's taking any recoil there. Right? And again, the big pose. You can kind of see it there. And on this one, come on. That's the big guns up. That's the cool one. You gotta get a big pose off of that. Maybe I'd have him lean back a little bit more. Right? Have him lean back a little bit more for that. For this? Come on. You anti-air with that. Lean back a little more. Right? Like, if you treat bombs like bombs, but you don't treat guns like guns, what's the deal here? If you're going to shoot up like this, if you're going to Yosemite Sam that shit, lean back like you mean it. Jeez. That's the thing, that's what really kills me. If we're going into Mortal Kombat X, Mortal Kombat 11 I mean, if we're going to have a character with guns, he's got to treat the guns like they're guns. Which means the lack of taking recoil on moves like this, that's gotta go. It's gotta go. If you're not gonna take recoil at all on this, you can't be taking recoil at all on this. Which means those two guns come out and they stay right in that person's face while you unload both magazines. If you're not gonna take any recoil, don't exaggerate the recoil. But if you're going to exaggerate the recoil, make it seem like all your other shots you have to deal with recoil because they shoot big bullets or they're powerful guns. But again, the problem I don't think is because the guns are small. I think it's because the guns look realistic in a game where there's a lot of magic being thrown around. That's the problem I think is with his guns and some of the things like that. Jesus. Played this in a while. That's the other thing. And again, stand switch, this has got to go. But one more thing that's really important before I leave Aaron Black to talk about the last thing. One thing I think is very important. Look at this character's hat, right? Look at the character's costume, right? Take it in, you see the little flourishes that he does, you see the bandolier on his waist, the scarf, the mask, the hat, that makes the character, right? So then why, in all of his other variations, does he not have the hat? If the hat is what makes the character, why take away the hat? If he's supposed to be a cowboy and he's supposed to be an outlaw, give this guy his hat for all of his variations, alright? if we're going to have a character who's supposed to be this kind of westerner, this kind of outlaw, this guy who's supposed to be a gunslinger, you know, Yosemite Sam rootin' tootin', 6-gun shooting motherfucker, keep the hat on him, right? Because if the hat is what makes the costume, why would you take away the thing that makes the costume? Alright? And along with the hat, he easily could have had the rifle on his back. He easily could have had the sword on his back. Alright? It's not, you know, something that's going to destroy the whole character. It's something I think that's going to add to him. So, for future reference, if we're going to bring a character like this back, or if we're going to bring Aaron Black back, he has to keep the hat. No matter what he does, if he's got a gun on his back, gotta keep the hat. If he's got a sword, gotta keep the hat. No gun, no sword, keep the hat. That's what's good about it. That's why we like it. And that's why if you see that bounty hunter costume he has, no one likes that shit. It's whack, right? He's got the Stetson. The Stetson is cool. The rest of the costume I think is whack, but the Stetson is cool. But then you take off the Stetson, you've got that BGC hairline with that, you know, sharp brown line on the middle of his head. That's no good. That is no bueno. That's bad for business. Right? There's one more thing I gotta talk about, and then I'll end this here, and it'll be on the channel, so everybody can talk about this dog, I promise you. Oh my goodness. The dog is not what I want to talk about, but the dog is here. It's past her bedtime. She knows it, but she's here. Good Lord. Anyways, we want to look at this character.
Alright, Joe.
This type of thing. Okay, look. Let me just get there.
Reptile.
Alright. Sit, sit. Sit. Not lick. Sit. 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 That's a good pupper. Alright. So, for Mortal Kombat 11. Jeez, pupper. Don't give me a slug. For Mortal Kombat 11, if we're going to do another fat character, this type of thing is no good. This is gross. I get it. If this is how the character is supposed to be, he's supposed to be funny, he's supposed to fart all the time and throw up, I understand. But just throwing up like this and farting for the sake of farting, that doesn't create a good image. Alright? It's an undesirable trait in a character. Right? If we have a fat character, we want to play a fat character not because he's gross, but because he's cool. And just to make it clear, just because he's obscenely gross and he farts all the time and he throws up on people, that does not make him cool. It's ursine and unclean. Right? I get it. The drunken fisting is cool. But the vomit and all the flatulence, alright, man. Come on. Alright. That's enough of that. Popper, what are you going on about? It's past your bedtime, Popper. I told you to go to sleep, and you didn't listen. Well, try to butter me up now. Maybe you should have went to bed. Popper. Yeah. This type of thing, this type of gross, for gross sake kind of character, that's gotta go. That's important. I get it, the drunken fisting, that's cool. But it's gotta go. Just to be gross and obscene for no other reason and for it to have no real utility, like, let's be honest with ourselves here. We're not killing anybody in particular with this move. Like, if we want, like, the only reason we're using this move at level 3 drunk, the only reason we're using this move, the throw up, the vomit here, is for the brutality. And the only situation we're using it in is with Chip. Right? So, prime example. If I can not mess it up, that's the one I want. So, alright, let me not mess it up here. That's when we'd use it. Maybe in a combo like that, or maybe if we have them in a chip situation in the corner, boom, we can take the chip out like that and get our brutality that way. But there's no purpose for this move other than that. You need to trade with a projectile? Okay. You have a much safer way of doing it that does more damage, right? Because look at the angle that this hits at. Everybody and their grandmother is jumping over that. And how's that supposed to contest with someone like Reptile, who can spit acid in a straight line, whose projectiles all go in a straight line? Or how is it going to beat someone like Tremor, whose projectiles can go in an upward arc, can roll across the ground, can go straight at you, and some of them even crush through other projectiles? This move doesn't have very much utility, other than spending a bar on it. And even then, if you're spending a bar for this move, you're trying to get the brutality. And there's much other uses for bar. Like, that bar you use on EX Vomit could be used for that. The bar you use for EX Vomit could be used for this, which would then refill your drink meter. This move, listen, man. Can we stop thinking that stuff that's gross like this is cool? I get it. It was funny at one point, but now's the time to stop. You see that there's no time up there, that's because the timer is broken, which means the timer has stopped and it's time to stop. This kind of thing here. Ugh. Jesus, that's... Ugh. That's enough of that. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Come back again. We'll play some For Honor armor. Jesus, man, this game. Just a quick recap before we go, though. Stand switch has gotta go. Alright, stand switch has gotta go. These weird moves like this, weird crouching normals, have got to go. Alright, like Katana's down 3, Ermac's down 3, Kotal Khan's down 3. Those moves have to go. Right? The characters that sway, like this character sways when he's drunk, that kind of sway has got to go. And moves that are just gross like this for no reason that serve no utility have got to go. Because I'll tell you, you're not winning any trades with EX Spit here. But yeah, that's all of that. Some stuff has got to go before Mortal Kombat 11, and I hope the things I addressed here or tried to address, you guys understand those. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time with For Honor or something else.